Go ahead, put it on real tight. Hope you brought your best tonight. They say they got the fireworks, yeah, they say they got the show. Here around the chutes, you're the best, so let's go.
This is Texas Toast. I'm your host, Miss Helen. Kick back and enjoy as we toast the best from Texas.
Welcome to Texas Toast. Of course, I'm your host, Miss Helen, and this is another part of our series for our up-and-coming musicians or our veteran musicians called Bottoms Up, and we are really honored to have Mr. Barry Coffing with us. He's CEO of Music Supervisor or MusicSupervisor.com. In addition to that, you're pretty famous. You're a songwriter yourself. You've written some famous stuff. Give us your background a little bit.
My parents graduated from high school in 1960 and thought happiness was a place. So my brothers and sister and I kind of grew up in Florida, in Texas, Ohio, and in Indiana. We moved to a lot of different places, but ended up settling in Houston. And all three of us attended the high school for the performing and visual arts as vocal majors. And I had a bunch of bands, and I sang all the Astroworld jingles in Houston and all that stuff.
Did you really? I'm a Houston, because I grew up outside. I grew up 50 miles west of Houston in Sealy.
Oh, yeah. So you heard, "Come away with us to Astroworld."
Yes, I used to sing it all the time. That's you?
Me. Yeah.
Love it.
I would come back from L.A., and for 10 years, that thing was still running.
Oh, you know? Yes. Oh, yes.
And so I did all that kind of stuff. And then I actually ended up with another Houstonian, Steve Tyrell, who had moved out to L.A., and he was a promotions guy, radio promotions guy. He was responsible for getting B.J. Thomas signed and working with Burt Bacharach and all that kind of stuff. And so he had started a company with Barry Mann, who's a really famous songwriter who wrote "You've Lost That Love and Feeling," "Just Once," on Broadway, like an incredible writer. And they were talking about, hey, we're looking for a writer, writers and producers and bands. And my name came up from three different people for all three things. And they went, all right, well, invite the guy out. So I went out to L.A. with my recordings that I'd done out, in Katy, Texas. And
see, we were neighbors, Katy and Sealy, I-10. We were I-10 neighbors. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so,
awesome.
Anyway, so long story short, I ended up working for them for 10 years, and then stayed out in LA for 20 years, and then moved my family back. I had 4 kids, and they really didn't know their extended family, and my dad had a stroke, so I moved back here, and then I started with a company called MusicSupervisor.com because I realized while I was there, I wrote songs for film and TV. Over 200 of them. I'm an Emmy loser, I wrote a song called "How Do You Talk to an Angel" for a TV show called The Heist. It was actually a #1 hit, and around the world. I co-wrote that with Steve and his wife. And so I had some pretty good success on some of that stuff, and decided there were a million programs. Once I started doing music supervision, there were a lot of programs to help me write music or produce music, but there wasn't anything to help me find music when I need to license it. So in a basement in El Segundo in LA, I kind of started hatching the plan. And when I moved my family back here, I had some meetings with some Texas oil men. I like movies. My wife likes movies, Will 50 grand get you started? And I'm going, yes, sir, it will. And so in 2005, I built the beginning of a technology at MusicSupervisor.com for searching and licensing and helping music supervisors and bands, like kind of a marketplace where they could find each other. And now currently we have about 18,000 labels and libraries from 79 countries around the world. And we're pitching 10 to 15,000 songs a month for films.
Wow. That's it. That's phenomenal. And I can't stop singing the Astroworld jingle. Okay. That's going to be stuck with me probably for 3 days. So let's talk about, for some of our artists that listen to our podcast a lot, we like to really try to support our Texas artists. Let's talk about licensing. What's the process for licensing? Let's say someone's just starting out, they've written their first few songs and they're getting ready to record and go through that process. But as far as licensing, the purpose and why it's important and what the process is.
So the first thing you want to make sure is you know enough about the business. A music supervisor cares that you understand enough about the business to not get them sued. You know, like one of the problems with my business is I have to keep $1 million errors and omission bond from Lloyd's of London, because if one of my songwriters steals something or their partner sues them, whatever, they don't want to get sued. They want me to pay. You know, so supervisors are very. If you start to look like you don't know what you're doing, it freaks them out. So you want to make sure that you know you've got your publishing registered. That in a perfect world, when you do a recording, you want to have a work for hire document that says, hey, you're the guitar player, you're here to play guitar, you're not writing the song. Because some people just, they don't know any better. And so I wrote that lick makes the song. No, it doesn't. If you didn't write the melody or the lyric, you didn't write the song. But that chord, I came up with it. You don't get to copyright the D chord, you know. So there's some elements of that they have to know, the basic business stuff. When it comes to licensing for film and TV, there are 2 licenses that you need. One is a synchronization license, which is I have written a copyrighted work, a song. Now you want to put it in your copyrighted work, a movie, a game, an ad. You must have my permission or you can't do it. As the songwriter, doesn't matter who makes the recording, you've got to get the rights of the songwriters and publishers. And then at the same token, when you pay for that recording and everything, somebody owns that master recording. Hopefully it's you, the songwriter or the artist. And in that case, they have to get a master license. So they have to get the rights to use your song. And separately, they have to get the rights to use your recording. And those are the basic points of what you need. That's what you're licensing. You're licensing sync and master. And you got to think of it like 200 proof booze. It's 100% this and 100% that. You need to have the rights to both 100% in order for somebody like me to represent you and handle it. Now we'll do cover tunes. If you've got a great version of an Eagles song, fantastic. We'll represent your master. And then the supervisor can clear the Eagles thing with Don Henley's publishing or whatever.
Okay, interesting. So let's say that, let's say I wrote a song about sports fishing and I want to pitch it to a fishing show. It's the same concept, have it licensed, and then like you have like a database for, like you said, to join together.
We have all that stuff. If you've got that, you don't need me to go and try to license it to a fishing show. But, you know, having other people, like our deal with our company, we're all a bunch of artists and songwriters ourselves. So it's free to sign up. It's non-exclusive. You can leave anytime. We don't take any ownership. Like, we make money when they make money. And so we're not very threatening, but you have to be careful because there's a lot of these guys out there that will take your publishing. They'll do retitling where they say, your song, I Love You, Baby. Let's just name it Baby, I Love You. And then I'll take the publishing for that version. And that's a big bone of contention because some people think it's okay. Some people think it's wrong. I don't personally like it or do it, but there are other people that do and make a lot of money that way. It's just something that happens. There's the way you think things work and the way they're supposed to work legally. And then there's the real world. And the real world, you just have to be real careful when they do that stuff, but also don't be scared because every contract that I sign on a license, they have that in perpetuity. And boy, when you're told, oh, that means forever. No. And the truth is, I have to grant all the licenses forever because you can't put something in Moulin Rouge and 5 years later go, I want to take it out of your movie now. After it's been around the world, played on TV. Anything licensed into a film or a TV show is a forever thing. Like you're going, hey, it's attached to this. Now my copyrighted work is attached to your copyrighted work forever. I'll get royalties. You'll make royalties. Everything's great. But you can't just pull it out later. And if you act like you want to do that or think you can do that, they won't take it. They'll walk away.
Wow, right.
But you don't want to sign a publishing contract forever, a record contract forever. You know, there's a lot of times that in perpetuity is a terrible thing. Other times it's very standard.
Any other advice as far as red flags that musicians should look for that are getting started in the business with their songwriting and publishing and singing?
You know, it's hysterical. I think we've gotten to the point now where as many people screw up being too cautious as they do being not cautious enough. It's that real balanced place. Again, if you don't know what a good deal or a bad deal is, you should not be negotiating the deal. Because somebody could be giving you a great price and you wouldn't know it. Somebody could be giving you a terrible price and you wouldn't know it. And you can blow it either way. So the second you can get yourself out of that position, you know, you're better off to do that. But also, too, now don't go give away your publishing. I want to run your song. Fantastic, you know. But get a reversion clause. Get something that says, if you don't put me in on the radio or in a movie or something at a certain period of time, I want my publishing back. Because your publishing is yours when you write the song until you assign it to somebody else. So you don't have to. Well, I need your publishing so I can put the song out. No, you do not. You know, so don't let anybody tell you that stuff. But there's lawyers and people like that. But right now it's a matter of kind of balancing things out. There's it's a Wild Wild West show out there. Mm-hmm. The hard part with COVID, my joke is that it's like a nuclear bomb came in and blew up 60% of the music business. And the problem is the 60% they blew up is where 90% of the people make their money. You know, so it's really tough. But there's a real value in film and TV licensing. It's a $500 million a year business. So it's not a joke. But at the same token, the real money that the majors are making is in streaming. And streaming is 85% of all the money that the major labels make now. And they're making about $2.4 million an hour. So don't let anybody tell you there's no money in streaming. You know, all evidence to the contrary. But, you know, you've got to get it out there, and you've got to, you know, really promote it. Like if you're an artist, they don't look for talent anymore. They look for business partners. So they want to come in when you've done all the hard work and go, man, if this guy's making $100,000 now with all of our resources, we'll make $1 million. So that's what they're looking for, is somebody like that.
Yeah, and then on the other side, let's talk about live performances, the public performance licensing.
Yeah, so that is ASCAP, BMI, PROs, which are performing rights organizations. So they're a big part of collecting a lot of royalties. In fact, when I put something in the movie, PROs are who collect those royalties. Every time it's played on HBO, every time, you know, those things happen. So you want to definitely get set up with one of those.
And how do you, because, you know, I always wonder, how does a musician choose BMI over ASCAP over SESAC? Do you have any idea there? I've always wondered about that. Why do they just toss a coin, or is there a difference?
No, it's here. I hate to take it in our political climate. The way to think about it is ASCAP are the Democrats and BMIs are Republicans. If you think you're going to make a bunch of money, you want to be with BMI.
Okay.
One of the things they do for film and TV, it's actually an easy decision. BMI pays based on what are called cue sheets. Mm-hmm. So it's a piece of paper. Here's every song that played in every episode of this TV show. ASCAP will still go and say, we got 26 shows. Why don't we look at 13 of them and double it? Which if it's great if you're in one of the lucky 13, but if you're in the unlucky 13, you don't get paid. Oh, we'll catch you the next time. Well, nowadays, there is no next time. There is no rerun. It's if you aren't in that first thing, you're not doing as well. So if you think you'll be doing a lot of film and TV, I would skew towards BMI. And CSAC, it's invitation only. There again, they want you to already be making money before they'll invite you in. They actually recently purged a lot of their writers and got rid of a ton of them. If they weren't bringing in X number of dollars, they booted them off.
Wow. Well, thanks for clearing that up. That was very educational for me, because I've always wondered about that.
Yeah.
Yes. And I guess once you have all your business in place and licensing, that can open many more doors as well.
Yeah, it makes you a professional. So then people want to work with you. But also, like on the film and TV land, once you've got your stuff together, there's a halo effect. So when you go out there and going, hey, press and PR, I've got a really great band. Everybody says that. If you're able to say, I got a really great band, and they've got a song in Scream 5, you know, the new scary movie, well, suddenly, tell me more. So some things about the music business haven't changed. It's a story. You know, Toby Keith signed me. So and so's on the record. You're building, like, some parts of this are the same. It's a people business, and it's still tell me a story. Why should I play you on the radio? Why should I put you in the movie? I mean, the movie thing, sometimes they just put a song in the movie because it makes the movie look great. But nobody does it because it's a favor. They're not going to mess up $100 million movie for your $3,000 song.
True.
You know, you get in the movie because you make it better. That's the only reason. I can get you heard. I can't get you placed. Your music's got to do its own job.
Right, right. Any other important little pieces of jewel that you can pass along to some of these musicians? This is so educational. I'm just enjoying this. I'm just enjoying listening to you.
Well, especially for the country musicians. So here's one of the great advantages you have. If you're an independent artist in Texas, you generally have your publishing. If you're in Nashville, man, they gobble up publishing like it's going out of style. So you or one of your co-writers has got to deal with Sony or Warner or something like that. They're a lot harder to get into a film and TV show because you've got to get the big people to do the paperwork. If you've kept yours, you can move so much faster. If they say, hey, all I got's $1,000, you can go, sold, let's put it in. Sony can't do that. They got to review it. They got to do this. So that's one of your advantages here. But when you're mixing your record, everybody mixes, particularly in country, they mix their records for radio.
Right, right.
Loud as SHIT,
Right.
I put you in a movie. Let's say I want you to be in the background of a coffee shop. When I turn it down, guess what happens? The drums and bass goes away, and all I hear is you singing, and it sounds like another person talking. So always do a mix, a vocal down mix when you're going to go for film and TV. They tucks it down in there. In fact, what I tell people is you do your regular mix. If you're in country, do a vocal down mix. But also do your what we call a TV mix, which is everything but the lead vocal. It's got the backgrounds and all that. Do that, and then do a stereo mix of the lead vocal with all the reverb. Because a lot of the bigger TV shows, Grey's Anatomy, they love to have the track here where it's still feeling good, but they'll put the vocal way down here while somebody's talking. Then at the end of the scene, they're able, with that stereo mix of the vocal, turn it up, and it'll have all the beautiful reverb and all the stuff you did. You do not want to trust them to remix your song, but you want to give them the stuff to control certain volume elements. But if you do that every time out, also if you messed up your mix, oh, I wish that third line was a little louder, bing, you take the instrumental, take the vocal, turn that up. You don't have to go back in the studio, you're done. Or if you go back in the studio, and we're done. You're done in 5 minutes instead of 5 hours. So prepare for success. I mean, everyone needs to be prepared for failure, but be prepared for something to do really well, or enable it to be used more ways.
Wow. That's I was even taking notes on that.
Once somebody tells you these things, you go, oh.
That's just incredible. I mean.
Well, the other thing too with country, a lot of people think they've got a great song. It's descriptive, and it tells an incredible story. Those are horribly hard to get in the film.
Really?
Yeah. If you write a song, I walked outside, it was raining, I smoked a cigarette. Holy crap. Do you know I could have all three of those things happen so you look okay? So chances are that's gonna be super hard to get in there. But if you said, I'm feeling lost, feeling blue. Oh my God, she is feeling lost and blue. That's the perfect song. Like if you're writing for film, don't write for the story, the visuals, write for the emotion. I'm so lonesome I could cry. Well, God, I could put that in 500 different things. Write for the emotion. The other thing too is everybody thinks, they got that song about the wildfires. I got a song called Wildfire.
Right.
Come on, put it in there, baby. If you ever do that as a music supervisor, it looks terrible. But if you wrote a song, I Can't Stand the Heat, and I put you in my Wildfire movie, well, you look great. That is killer. Right to the emotion, right to the feeling. It's much broader. I've got a broken heart. Well, who doesn't know what that feels like? I feel it on top of the world. It can be used in a shopping montage. It can be used in a football thing. It could be, there's a million places I can put it, but if you put mowing my lawn on a Saturday, no, that's not going to do good. And ballads are harder to place for film and TV. Everybody thinks I've got this great ballad and work in a movie. Mm-hmm. Those are really hard to get placed because here's the joke I make. I've never been watching a movie with the director. They said, you know what? That scene has too much energy. Let's put kind of a slow song to take it down a little bit. Never. But I have had them say, wow, that scene's just laying there. You got some music to kind of pep it up? So upbeat songs, if you're going for film and TV, mid to up tempo, way, way more effective because I need you to make this. These guys are just sitting around the bar talking about stupid stuff. Let's put some excitement in it. Let me help you, So that's a way to write a song that has a better idea or to pitch a song that has a better idea. With everything I say, there's always an exception because I said that. You'll probably get your ballad about mowing the lawn in a movie, I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying that don't bank on it,
Yeah, don't count on that. No. So how did you first get into the business with the movie sound, the songs for movies? I mean,
so through Steve Tyrone Barry's company, they came in. In fact, I did the theme song or co-wrote the theme song. And most of the songs for the series California Dreams for NBC. Like in the 90s, it was a bunch of kids and they had a band. I probably was working on it. I did Catwalk for MTV. I did Kids Incorporated with Fergie from Black Eyed Peas when she was 16. Jennifer Love Hewitt when she was 12. I wrote 10 songs for that show. It's like, so I just kind of, here's a script, here's a piece of film, write me a song. And they did a great job of bringing those jobs in. And they gave me pizza and donuts and kept me in the studio and said, keep writing. So I have a career that's really difficult to replicate.
Oh, yes.
Because
it's wonderful.
Hundreds of songs in film and TV. You can't go and get the job and write them all. Like somebody else had to do a lot of heavy lifting so I could get the fun part.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you said you're an Emmy loser, did that mean you got nominated and didn't win, or did you lose an Emmy? I mean, like literally physically lose it.
No, I never even got to fondle it. No. I went, How Do You Talk to an Angel was nominated for an Emmy for Best Words and Music. And we got beat by Kander and Ebb, a big Broadway duo that wrote a song for Liza Minnelli. So I'm going, I still think mine was number one. Theirs wasn't. Come on, give me the award. I want the award. You pay all this money to bring your mom and dad out there to watch you lose. So about 10 o'clock at night, awards are not a happy place because 4 out of 5 of the people are losers.
Yeah, right.
And the winners are dancing around. You want to hold it? I want to hold it. So you go, this is sad,
And then having to get all dressed up and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you're and then in LA trying to get a limo, you're in the second tier of limos. It's like I didn't really want to arrive in one that was baby blue, but that's all they had. No, you can't like in LA. Yeah, they get a run on limos on Oscar, Emmy, those kind of days.
Yeah, and so you did have a baby blue in.
Yeah, it was like I was going to my prom.
That's exactly what I was going to say that because during my prom it was baby blue was the whole thing. I had a baby blue dress. My date had a baby blue tux.
I'll confess to the same dress for my prom. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's been such a pleasure visiting with you and we're just so honored that we could kind of tap into the knowledge that you have to pass along to some of these musicians and people in the music industry that listen to the podcast.
Oh, definitely. And I love the Texas music scene. I love what you guys are doing to help support artists. Anything that supports artists, I'm a big fan of. So
yes.
Keep doing what you're doing.
I know it's always been my passion ever since the late 90s when it started really evolving. I was in radio for years and it was just, being a heritage Texan, it's like picking up on that music and seeing some of them come through and grow. And we're going through a growth phase again with our Texas music. We're just seeing so much talent and they're bringing back like the 90s country and these gals and guys. I mean, they're really pushing the envelope. They're putting out some good stuff. So we want to make sure they're all prepared and educated.
Definitely. Well, and I do an event called Springboard where we kind of help a bunch of industry professionals. We kind of help young artists. In fact, we've done like 5 or 6 of them in Houston, and it's sort of more of a boutique version of South by Southwest.
Okay.
You know, and so a lot of the bands that we see them, you know, go on to do great things, and some of them like Clay Melton, who was you know, in our one in Columbus that just finished, kind of got in the blues charts and stuff, but he's from Houston, and he played our Springboard. You had to do it virtually, so we had to do it from his garage, but he would have been in Columbus, Ohio, had COVID not messed things up. But, you know, watching him do well, you know, in terms of that. Darby Shawn is somebody who came up through our stuff, and she's now releasing some great, you know, stuff. And there's a lot of really good Texas music. Like I have over 500 artists just out of Austin.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's like, and we pitch them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple of movies that we're directly supervising. One, 2 of them are Westerns. One's going to be more a traditional sense of one. The other, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. It's a true story about a Texas Ranger, you know, really great guy who won all these awards, who was black, and so they're going to go the traditional Western, tell the story, but hip hop for the soundtrack. Like modern, really cool hip hop. So there's some crazy things along that line too that you're seeing where they're mixing genres and styles. I'm doing a movie right now called it's for Legion M, and it's called The Man in the White Van, and it's set in 1974 all the way through 1980 in Florida, and it's the story of a real serial killer. But we're doing all kinds of throwback vintage stuff from 74 and mixing it in with young bands that sound like those kind of things. So we're going to do a soundtrack that's half and half. And they just wrapped filming in Louisiana, and so they'll be posting after Christmas. So we're looking for Southern rock bands. If you sound like you had a band in 1974 in the Leonard Skinner Doobie Brothers, you know, kind of deal, I'd love to hear from you.
Wow. That's good stuff. I enjoy listening to all that. And, you know, speaking of filmmaking, there's a lot of movies made in Texas now.
There used to be even more. Yeah, it's we had like where because I grew up here, our heyday was the $1 million truck commercials. Because now they got green screens and stuff, but before, when you were looking for rugged roads to drive your truck on, Texas was the place. Plus, I still think 40% of every pickup truck sold is sold in Texas. It's like that, like roughly about 40% of every country record sold is sold in Texas. Mm-hmm. We're like, that's where Nashville, there's a love-hate thing, because Texas doesn't have to have Nashville.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We're one of the few places that, you know, and when you look at who's killing in Nashville, there's a bunch of Texans.
Mm-hmm. Well, they watched even from the inception of the first Texas music chart. Nashville started spying and recruiting from it, kind of like almost like in baseball, you know, where they're scouting.
There's a farm club, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, okay, Barry. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us and pass on such wonderful, valuable information.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for everything you guys are doing.
Oh, yes.
And with a heavy tongue, she knew where I was from. As she left, I dared to say, well, you can go to hell. Hell, I'll go to Texas. I've had my fill of every place but home.